Good morning, everybody. Pastor Stitch, Narrow Path Christian Church, BC, Bay City, Michigan. Welcome to the Biker Devotional. Today is August 26, 2026. We're looking at Proverbs chapter 26, and we're going to look at verse 3. Proverbs 26 and verse 3 says this: "A whip for a horse, a bridle for a donkey, and a rod for the backs of fools." You know, sometimes when we read things like this, we read with a context of not really understanding. And so we read a whip for a horse, a bridle for a donkey, and a rod for the backs of fools, and we think all of these things are abusive, horrible, just absolutely wrong. And why would this be okay? Why would any of this be okay? And so we get frustrated, we're upset, why would God even allow Solomon to write these things? Maybe you don't. Maybe you understand. I don't know. But for those of you that think like me, I've read this verse over hundreds of times over the years. And the reality is, I kind of just passed it by because I didn't want to take the time with it. This morning, I woke up and God was working on something in me, and I'd been praying that He would. And so He was working on it, and I was feeling a little bit of the sting of what He was telling me. And then I read this, and I started to think about it. Now, many of you may not know, I'm called Stitch because I sew for a living. And for years, I ran my own business where I worked with leather all day, making leather goods. And I had to sew it, do all of that. And if I had a project where the leather needed to be really resilient and it needed to hold up well, it'd be really dense, not absorb sweat, all of those things. I used what was called horse butt strips. It was a strip of leather that came across the backside of the horse. It was the horse butt. And it was extremely dense leather. It is. It's extremely dense leather. Matter of fact, if you have shoes with leather soles, those soles come from a very specific part of the horse butt that's even thicker and more dense. And it doesn't wear out. A whip for a horse is not about beating the crap out of a horse. A whip creates just the right sting to get a horse's attention when you smack it on the rump, because anything else it won't even feel. But you get just the right sharpness to it, it will feel it underneath the skin. It doesn't hurt, it just lets it know. A whip for a horse. A bridle for a donkey. Now, a donkey doesn't like to be bridled because it wants to be wild. But the bridle doesn't actually hurt it. It actually helps calm it. And a rod for the backs of fools. See, Solomon was talking about actions that make good correction that don't really injure someone. Yes, a rod to your backside, it'll leave welts. Trust me, I remember at my youth, it could hurt and sting for a while. It never injured me, right? And it was a good lesson. It was a corrective lesson. So when it comes up, a whip for a horse, a bridle for the donkey, a rod for the backs of fools. Solomon isn't saying that beating is okay. What he's saying is the right correction for the right circumstance. Someone on here is insulting me and my mother, and I won't read what they said, but old Stitch would have come up with a really good comeback. I want this person, you know who you are. Yeah, I want you to know that I see you. And I understand that that's why you needed to make the comment. You needed to be seen. You are seen. And your comment, while inappropriate, landed badly. It would be like trying to get a horse's attention by tickling its butt. It's just not even going to feel it. I could use the whip. That would get your attention. But I think you understand what I'm doing here today. Use the correct tool to make the correct correction in the correct circumstance. Don't use a whip on a fool. A fool's skin is really weak. You use a whip, it will tear and injure and damage. But you can use a whip on a horse, and it won't harm it at all. You can put a bridle in a donkey's mouth. It will hate it, but it will cause it to receive the correction it needs. Doesn't harm it. Doesn't have to like it. And a fool, some stripes on the backs of their legs, it's going to get their attention, right? But it's not going to injure them. I'm not advocating abuse. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the correct correction for the correct circumstance. Like I started, God woke me up doing some correction work in me. And because of that, I felt a little sting. And because of that sting, hopefully it will stick and last. Go out into your day today. Enjoy it. Remember, when you feel that sting, it's God loving you, correcting you, without injuring you. Have a great day. God bless.